Hello there. You're welcome to the Young Business Executive Seminar. My name is John Inamaka John, and I am an executive strategist for Rexai, where we are particular about building businesses such that they have a sustainable structure and system for effectiveness. And I am going to be your facilitator, meaning that in the subsequent materials is my voice that you're going to be hearing. So feel free to open your mind and receive the knowledge that we are about to share. You're welcome. All right, so let's begin. And we're going to be starting with an amazing quote from Dr. Miles Monroe. It says, "You do not become the person you wish to become, you become the person you choose to become." True leadership does not come through wishes, it comes by choices. And this slide is strategically put in here because we want to congratulate you for making a choice to take this step in the right direction in your personal leadership as an individual and your leadership as a business. So you're welcome aboard, and you are in for a swell time because it's going to be one amazing time of knowledge sharing and transformative learning. Welcome once again. So in this course, we are intended on covering three major areas. The first is the executive. Who is an executive? The person. That is the very first focus. Why? Because every other thing that we're going to be talking about will source from this person. So a clear identification of who the person is would go a long way in setting other things in motion and putting them in perspective concerning the course. Remember, if the purpose of a thing is undefined, abuse is inevitable. If the understanding of who the executive is void, abuse of his position is inevitable. Then the second thing that we are going to be talking about is the core skills. What are the core skills that every business executive has got to have, without which they are going to struggle? They cannot be effective in business. And finally, we're going to talk about the differentiators, systems and structures. This is what differentiates a roadside business person from the actual business person that is producing value for all relevant stakeholders. So I'm sure you are ready and you're psyched up to begin the process. So let's begin. We're starting out right here with this discourse between you being self-employed and you running a business. All right, many times we tend to confuse the two, thinking that because I do not work for anybody, it means that I run a business. But you want to ask yourself a question. If we take you out of whatever enterprise it is that you are running, will that enterprise of itself be able to sustain itself? Now, that is the dichotomy between you running a business and you being self-employed. So a self-employed person is one that actually is an integral part of what he does. You see, he is his business. Matter of fact, the moment he's unavailable, he is no longer there. Picture a scenario. Let's say I am a graphics designer. I used to work for a certain media house. Okay, they were paying me a certain amount of money, say 200,000 per month, and then I decide to resign and set up my own graphics designing firm. But every day I have to deal with my projects, and that would take me almost the whole day, like as if I'm working a 6 to 5 job. And then I also still earn about the same amount of money, maybe 300 in a month or thereabout. Now, I am still self-employed. I do not yet have a business. Why? Because I do not have structures and systems in place that would aid for that business to run on its own with or without me being there. So this is the very first take home for tonight's discourse. So how do we transition from being self-employed, for those that are self-employed, to becoming actual business owners? Or if you are a business owner, how do you then put effective systems and structures in place to see that your business is journeying in the right direction? So this is where we begin. As a person, I've always been fascinated with the etymology of words, like where do words actually come from, like what are the origins, why does the word sound in a certain way? Is it of Latin origin, is it of American origin? I like to always find out what the the original intent of every word that I get to come across is. All right. And so also is the word executive, right? So I did a little deep, and it's obvious to anybody and everybody. The root word for the word executive is execute. So in other words, an executive is a person that executes, right? So what's the meaning of execute? Two definitions stands out to me every time I do the study. Two definitions. First, it's getting things done, execute, get it done. And then secondly, it is putting something into effect. All right, so it paints an idea for those of us in the IT space. All right, if you were conversant with database technology, you see that there are certain times you write certain queries, all right, and then you load it onto whatever your client agent is, and then you hit a button that shows execute. So it means you've laid down sets of instructions, and you're then saying implement these instructions. So this is who an executive is. He is, number one, the person that gets the job done, and secondly, he is the person that puts systems and structures in place, gets them in effect, gets them working. So he doesn't just stop at identifying them or developing them. He goes on to see that there is a smooth running of these systems, right? So this is who the executive is. All right, so the slide before you has three basic columns, which I like to refer to as the job description, the JD of an executive. All right, so let's dive in first. The first thing there is identify. All right, identify what needs to get done. Okay, what needs to get done? Haven't understood the why of whatever venture it is that you are in. If it's a business, if it's an NGO, if it's an ID firm, whatever it is, you've understood the why. Now the next key question is on the executive shoulder, which is what? All right, and the very first question is what needs to get done? What do I need to get done? All right, you define in clear terms what should be done, because you see many times a lot of entrepreneurs have come to find out struggle with certain activities which have little or no effect on the overall outcomes or the overall performance of their business, because they do not have a clear definition of what needs to be done. So you see many times a lot of entrepreneurs, they keep on working on the product and 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 investing a lot of times into it. Well, that is beautiful. That is good. You want to achieve excellence. But the question is, what needs to be done? What does our product need to achieve? What is good enough for our customers? All right. So that's the first thing the executive wants to determine. What needs to get done? All right, even in our systems, even in our businesses, what should be done? Do we need to adopt that strategy? Do we need to be on this platform? Do we need to achieve this? Do we have targets? Okay, we want to reach 1,000 customers. We want to have 1,000 followers. We want to reach this coverage. We want to set up this business in this other region and in this other region, and then we want to see how that we have a patronage of a certain amount of people. Now, this is defining what needs to get done. And then closely akin to that is who needs to be on board to get this done. All right, so who do I need to bring on board? Am I okay? Do I need some more people? Do we need a social media marketer? Do we need people that would help us spread it by word of mouth? Do we need an analyst? Do we need a data scientist? What are the skills requisite for what needs to get done? That's the next question he asks himself. All right, and not just that alone. He then says, what resources would need to be available? Do I need to pay them? Do we need to get certain gadgets? Do we need to adopt certain technology? All right. So these are the questions in the very first segment that the entrepreneur has, the executive, sorry, has to deal with. Identify. All right. Then the next thing that he wants to saddle himself with is to develop, all right, a working system. All right, here what he's focused on is people, process, and technology. And allow me to add here that when we talk about technology, we're not referring to IT. This is a lot of mistakes that a lot of entrepreneurs have have gotten themselves into. Matter of fact, I have a lot of problems with Nigerian or African entrepreneurs and business leaders because many times we try to solve first world problems when we are in a third world context. You see, Nigeria is a third world, you understand? And then we try to solve, you know, problems that should actually be solved in the first world, in the third world. There are a lot of problems in Nigeria, a lot of problems in Africa, that once we can get our minds around them, you'd find out that you've been struggling with your business or struggling with having breakthroughs or limelight. There are problems everywhere. Social entrepreneurship is one very viable aspect of the industry today. You see, you want to ask yourself, what is the context in which I am in, and then develop a system of doing it easier. That is technology. Okay, so back to the discourse, we're saying people, process, and technology. So you have to see how all these things interface together into a working system. The people, do I have the people? The process, do I have the process? And the technology, do I have the technology, the systems on which this people and this process will effectively run? So that is the next thing you want to do, is you want to develop a system bordering around people, processes, and technology. And then thirdly, what you have there is work and rework. So you have set up your system. Okay. The next thing you want to do is you want to get that system working. All right. As you're getting the system working, you begin to learn from that system. All right, you begin to learn from the system, observe the system, observe how it is running, what are the pain points, what are the bottlenecks, what needs to change, what needs to be improved upon. And then what do you do immediately? You improve upon it. So constant, consistent improvement is your responsibility. Okay, this is what we call, or we like to refer to as, managerial leadership. Okay, many times we say managers just manage things, and leaders, they always venture into new waters. However, for the business executive in the context in which we've come to find ourselves in this part of the world, you've got to be a managerial leader. All right, meaning you've got to be able to combine both strength points. All right, you've got to be able to see how that the system is working effectively, and then you've got to see how that you can maybe pivot or try new waters, or new technology, or new people, or new processes, to see how that you can achieve the best. Remember, the goal is what do we need to get done? What is our metric? What is our measurement for success? And we are achieving it. Okay, that's the idea. That's why you are in the job. That's why you're in the business. That's why you're there in the first place. Okay, there's a problem you've identified. You've developed a solution. You want to see how that it is effectively working. Okay. All right. So the next thing that I want to talk about is the Lean Six Sigma. Actually, there are a lot of professional courses out there that you can do for free. All right, to just understand what the process, or the idea behind this concept talks about. However, it's not compulsory that you have to go learn it professionally and everything. I've come to find that in this part of the world, Africa, we tend to pay too much attention to certifications, and I did that course and I did this course. However, what is key is the education, the knowledge that we garner from exposing ourselves to these things. So let's quickly delve in quickly. So the Lean Six Sigma runs on five basic steps. As an acronym, it's DMIC. All right, define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. And how does this begin to refer to us? It's simple. So you have set up your system. All right, that is you defining your system. You've set up your system. You've set up your structure. What you want to do in the next step is to measure. Do it before and after. Before I set up this system, before I set up this structure, before I put this mechanism in place, how was my business? How was what I was running like? And after it has been put into effect, how is it right now? Is there a change? All right. Once you're able to identify that there is a change, you go to the next phase, which is you analyze. So what are these changes? Okay, I have an increased customer. Now the change could be either positive or negative. All right, but you've got to be brutally honest with yourself. That's why you are the executive. Your employees might try to sweet talk you and not tell you the truth. People around might just try to say what you want to hear, but you as the executive, you've got to be brutally, ruthlessly honest with yourself. All right, so you want to ask yourself, what are these changes? You want to begin to analyze them. Okay, did I have an increase in customer interaction? Did I have an increase in sale? Did I just have an increase in customer interaction and then there was no increase in sale, or sales declined? Or did I have reduced commitment from my employees because of the bureaucracy of the process? Or are there pain points? Are there log jams? You begin to ask yourself the salient, vital questions. Okay, remember what they say about the law of insanity. It is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. So this is what marks that change, you see. So it's you beginning to say, okay, what do I need to tweak? What do I need to put in place? Let me analyze it. Let me check. What do I need to knock off? What do I need to integrate? What do I need to do I need to completely overhaul the system? You see. So this is what happens when you analyze. Then once you've analyzed, the next thing you want to do is you want to improve that system. So you've done your analysis now. You say, okay, this needs to change, that needs to change, this needs to be put in effect, that needs to be put in effect. Okay, so that's what you're doing. You're now actually improving. You're changing job functions. Okay, you're no longer just a social media manager. You become a social media evangelist. You change the whole things. Why don't you engage people personally? Why don't we do it this way? Okay, so we are changing how we interact with our customers. We're changing the culture in the company. We're changing our job descriptions. You're changing our KPIs. You're doing a lot of these improvements. And then control means to see that these improvements you're making is being implemented in this your system, in this your structure. So you've decided to take a pivot. Now people are always, every time, many times resistant to change. But as the leader, as the executive here, what you want to do is to galvanize people in the direction of positive change. Do you understand? So this is the idea, a brief summarizing of the Lean Six Sigma, all right, the DMI process. And in the event that you have any question regarding any of the steps, you can do well to let me know. Okay. All right. So we will start off with sight. Okay. Now, one of the key attributes or qualities of the business executive is his ability to see both the big picture and also the smaller pictures that make up the big picture. All right, so he's a person that understands this is where the organization, this is where the business, this is where the franchise, the enterprise needs to be. This is where we need to get to. All right, and then he understands the tiny details. All right, that needs to all come together to see how that he achieves or they achieve together as an organization that desired target goal, you see. So it's a core skill that every young executive must have, his ability to see, and not just only seeing concerning his business. He also must see how that this is business can integrate effectively with society. because you understand how that the current space for entrepreneurship and business in the African sphere requires a lot of transformative processes. So he must be able to clearly identify his role, not just his role in the business, his business's role in the society. All right, he must be able to see that big picture. Why? Because this would aid every other thing, sight. Because what you do not see, you cannot achieve. You understand? You know the good book tells us something about the man Abraham in his dealing with God. God says to Abraham at some point, look to the west, look to the east, look to the north, look to the south, as far as your eyes can see. So, is it that you are currently where you are in your business today because you've not been able to raise your vision? You've not been able to see the next phase. You've not been able to see the bigger picture. You've not been able to see a higher level of success or greatness for your business. So, what you want to cultivate tonight is your ability to see. And seeing, I must tell you, would require isolation. It will require you taking out time, you see, to actually cogitate over your business, to actually draw from your inner recesses. And I'm excited about these classes because you see, we're going to come to a point whereby we talk about touching base with your inner rhythms, how you draw from your inner recesses the blueprint, the ideal picture for your business or your organization. So that is the very first cardinal important skill: sight, your ability to see both the big picture and the smaller pictures, and to always refine that vision per time, you see, because every vision, if it's genuine, if it's true, gets bigger with time. So you want to keep on seeing the bigger picture, the bigger picture, the bigger picture. This is a sure skill for guaranteed success. All right, the very next after that is interpretation. All right, interpretation. And interpretation is very key, you see. A lot of people, many times in their businesses, they have what they believe to be some grand idea. They are seeing the big picture. Remember, the first skill is sight, and they find it very difficult to have people buying into that vision, buying into that idea, buying into that their business, buying into that their product. It is very simple. It's because interpretation is lacking, you see. I've come to find out that in Nigeria, most especially, there is no product that cannot be sold. There is no product. Think of, just put some water in some bottle, you can sell it. You see, but you have a beautiful product, you have a beautiful business, a beautiful template, a beautiful idea, but you're finding it difficult to drive sales. Could it be that your interpretation is a little off? All right. Now, I like to help people see interpretation on them on three different levels. All right, so the very first one is interpretation amongst your inner circle. And now this is very important. Yes, we might not talk about it today, but it is key for every business or every young entrepreneur to have what you'd refer to as a mastermind group, an inner circle. All right, it is with these people that you share the reality. You must be able to get these people to buy into your vision. It's more like your senior executives meeting, you see. You must be able to clearly set forth the picture such that they are not motivated, but instead they are inspired. You see, so what you're driving is inspired action. Motivation with time gets waned. Motivation with time wears away. But you see, once you're able to clearly inspire a burning desire, a burning drive in that your inner circle, I think 50% of your work is done. So that's the very first level, your ability to communicate what you have seen to those closest to you. Then the next level is your employees, or the different people that make up your production process. I know when we talk about the value chain much later, we're going to talk about your production process and all that. However, at this level, interpretation is key. Now, you might not necessarily begin to go on to tell them the high ideals and high standards that you have, but what you want to do is you want to cause them to see themselves in that vision. That's what you want to do. You want to help your employees see how that what they are doing every day is part of a bigger vision, is part of a bigger picture, it's a higher cause. You see, once this can be in place, you find out that you have people working for you that are not just interested in getting a paycheck at the end of the month. Matter of fact, one of the organizations that I run, I have a lot of people working with me there for free. You see, in short, I can't even pay them for what they do for me. You see, because they have been able to see themselves as making a difference, making an impact, causing a change, being change agents. You see, why? Because the vision was clearly interpreted to them. They saw themselves as a part of it. You see, they saw it as a movement. They saw it as something that I am feeling a higher cause. It is bigger than me. You see. Now, the third level is your customers. Now, the mistake a lot of people make is try to make your customers think it's a higher cause. Now, for interpretation, it's a whole lot different for your customers. Your customers are uninterested in whether it's a higher cause or not. They are uninterested if you want to make Nigeria or the world a better place. No, the question they are asking themselves first, before they even think of the higher cause, is what is in it for me? So this is where your interpretation now needs to take another new form. You see, so now you're not just interpreting to your customers, oh, how ideal your product is, how you're solving a larger problem, how that is it's a green technology and it's effective for the ecosystem. No, you begin to paint it to them in such a way that you've got to have this product because it will do this and do that and do that for you. Because until your customers can see that product or that service that you're offering solving a specific problem for them, they would not buy in. Even if you have a very ideal story, even if you have very beautiful CSRs, you're changing lives and stuff. So these are key things that you must consider. So first of all, you want to be able to clearly set forth your vision to your inner circle, and then you want to inspire your employees to see themselves as causing a change, and then you want to cause your customers to see that this problem is solving something for them. It is vital, it is integral to their everyday activities. All right. So the third skill that we have there is control. Many times when we hear the word control, we begin to see maybe somebody who is manipulative and trying to twist people's hands to get them to do certain things for them and stuff like that. But when we talk about control is simple. It is you achieving your end results. That's what it simply is, such that you're able to ensure that the process in the end, all right, achieves the desired result. That is control. All right. Recently I was talking with someone who you might refer to as a mentee, but I see him as a friend. So he was telling me how that it was very frustrated. His suppliers are not coming up on time. He's not having enough cash flow in his business. Things are not going. He does a food. He's into food business, so he's not having enough cash flow, so he can't go to get his products and stuff. And he was complaining, and he was almost at the point of telling me that he was frustrated. And then I told him that one simple thing is lacking. It's control. You do not have effective control over your system, because if you have effective control, there will be no room for frustration. Now, what is control? Control is you knowing that if I put in this and put in this and put in this into the system that I have, I should get so and so result. A controlled environment. Now, there are also three levels of control. First of all, there is control of your system. There is control of the people you're working with, and then there is a control over the marketplace too. These three are very key. All right, your resources, your system, the people you're working with, and then the people you're working to serve. It's important you have these three levels of control in your business. And then how do you achieve it? How do you achieve the control? So how do I achieve control? 3 C's are very key: conditioning, calm, and conversation. Conditioning, calm, and conversation. Now, what is conditioning? Conditioning is you setting the precursor. I studied chemical engineering, and there are certain reactions that happen on the active sites of a catalyst. Now, what we do is we determine how to properly arrange these catalysts in the reactor such that every reactant has maximum encounter with the catalyst. Now, this is the same thing that you must do for your business. Now, on the surface, it will involve you planning and engaging. All right, so you lay out your plans carefully and clearly, and then you engage all the respective parties. All right, so you call them ahead of time, tell them this is the conditions, these are the agreements that we have. You see, you must learn to have agreements, and I advise people, as much as you can, make your business legal. Okay, make your business legal. For every of my businesses, I have a lawyer and I have an accountant. Very key. Make your business legal. So you're going into a business or an agreement with a supplier or everything, let there be a written agreement. Very key. So this is an initial conditioning, so everybody knows what is expected of them at every point in time. However, there are a lot of times that we have come to see that there are breaches of contract, and whether you get to make the person pay or not, you would agree with me that you have stunted your business process. You have affected your structure, you have affected your system. So you want to go a step further to conditioning the intangible variables, and this for me is done in the place of praying and meditation and setting up my mental vicinity. You see, so we're going to touch a lot more on this initial and intangible aspects of business much later when we come to talking about inner rhythms and mental vicinities. However, you must cultivate a habit of setting things up in the secret place, in the hidden sphere, in the spiritual realm, why to say it that way. You see, in the subconscious space, you must ensure that you're emitting the right vibrations. You must ensure that you have the right vortex. You must ensure that you have the right energy around you. Now, this is very key, because if you have a mindset of failure, a mindset of defeat, no matter how much you might invest and plan and put into the business, you will always fail. You see, so you want to condition your mind right. You want to condition the spiritual tempo. You want to condition the spiritual atmosphere correctly. Okay, then the next thing that you want to do is you want to be calm at every point in time. You must ensure you come to a point whereby when you're dealing with people, dealing with businesses, dealing with concepts, your systems, that you are always calm and you do not fret over anything. You do not lose your sense of inner peace, because the moment you slide into frustration and uneasiness, you lose control. The moment you do, you lose control. So I am at work and I'm working on a project, and there are a lot of pressures, a lot of deadlines to meet, and it seems I'm getting encumbered. What do? I close my laptop, I close my book, and I go somewhere and I take a nap. I take a nap for 15 minutes, and with the remainder of the 15 minutes, I just think through everything, calming myself down, telling myself I've got this, telling myself I'm ready to achieve this. Now, that has already brought me to the next thing, conversation. So I have a conversation with myself. I talk to myself that I'm ready, I am standard, I'm excellent, I'm smart, I'm able to achieve it. There is nothing too big for me to pull off. All right, then I talk to things. Yes, I talk to the car, I talk to the telly, I talk to the servers, I talk to my systems, and I tell them you are functioning effectively. Why? Because I've come to find out that everything in nature hears, everything in nature listens. So I talk to my clothes, I talk to my computer, I talk to every single aspect of my business. I'm having a conversation with them. So they say there's a machine, it's not working, it's always going bad because of the power, because of this. I go and talk to it. Oh, machine, you're becoming fine. Well, you might say that's a little off. Or don't you think people will think you're crazy? Don't you think people will think you're losing your mind? Can I tell you something? Every successful person in the world today does what I'm telling you. You can go do your personal research. Research Jesus, research Buddha, research the Steve Jobs, research the Bill Gates, research research all this, research the biographies, you would find out that every one of them learned to have a conversation with themselves and a conversation with things that seem inanimate, you see. And then they also have a conversation with people too. So that's the next level of control. You want to have a conversation with people, your staff, your inner circle, your suppliers. You want to have a conversation with them with the aim of achieving your desired goal. So that's the next skill, control. So the last skill we'll consider for tonight is managerial leadership. Now, I first of all I want to say this here that all the ideas we're communicating here, we try as much as possible to be very original with them. Okay, we're trying not to plagiarize or go on the internet and just pick in some random jack and talk to you. These are things that we have come to learn on the board, on the job rather. So a group of people actually came together and researched all this material that we are putting out here. Now we came upon this particular um, skill by observing some leaders in certain businesses. So I have a CEO in in one of our NGOs, Rexai, and she's just an amazing person. She, you couldn't say if she was a manager or she was a leader. She has a very fine blend of both vertical and horizontal thinking. What is vertical thinking? Vertical thinking is something that's already been instituted. How can we make it a lot more better? How can we increase the skill? And then horizontal thinking is how do we set up something entirely new to achieve our ultimate vision? You see, now we have come to find out that this is a cutting edge skill for every executive. This separates the greats from the averages. So you hear some people say, well, I am a manager, and some others say to themselves, I am a leader. But no, the executive is a managerial leader, meaning he has the ability at some point in time to bring forth his managerial abilities, and some other point in time, depending on the requirement, bring forth his leadership skills. You see, so you are able to keep your system running, and you're able to amplify or create an entirely new system. You see, so you're not just all about maintenance, you're all about evolution. You see, so I tell people I believe in evolution, but in a different kind of evolution, not how that we move from apes to human beings. No, I believe that we can consistently improve and make things a lot better, and matter of fact even create new ones. Now this is the beauty of an executive. This is a skill that every executive has got to have. All right, and these things I want to tell you that no one in quote is born more advantaged than the other person. That some people are naturally born leaders and some others are just naturally born managers, and so no matter what they do they couldn't become leaders, or no matter what they do they just have to just remain as managers. No, these are things that you consciously learn, and one of the key ways by which you can learn to be a managerial leader is by being mentored. Yeah, I could tell you to go read books. I could refer books to you for you to read. However, one of the most effective ways is being mentored. Is being mentored. Till today in my own life, as no matter the fact that I am involved in a number of businesses, I still have a mentor over me. You see, there are people that I offer mentorship. Will I say services? Not exactly. That mentorship feeling too. I talk to them about their businesses. Why? Because you want to be effective as both a manager and a leader. You see, so you must come to that point whereby even though there is a dichotomy between managing and leadership, you are at that point whereby you are effectively combining both. So you're able to maintain systems effectively, and then you're able to even create or retweak them to having better ones. And one quality of a leader also is your ability to inspire excellence in the people that you're working with, and not just in the people that you're working with, in the system that you're involved with. So this would be it concerning that third skill, managerial leadership. Okay, we're talking about systems and structure. You see, we began to discuss yesterday, and we started out with saying how that a business is a lot different from being self-employed. As a self-employed person, you are your business, but if you are running a business, one key integral part of the whole thing is that you have a system that is running on a certain kind of structure. And it's on this footing where we would continue tonight. So, in considering the systems and the structure of your business, there are three things that are extremely cardinal. It's around these three things that you are to build your structure. The very first is the product. Okay, the product. Now, what are you asking yourself here? This product that I have, is it solving a recognizable problem? Right? That's the question you want to ask. Is this product actually solving a problem that is recognized by a large number of people or a good number of people? Because if you're unable, remember what we talked about in interpretation, if you're unable to help people see what is in it for themselves, you will do very poorly in terms of your sale. So that's the very first thing you want to answer. This product, is it is it solving a problem? That's what you want to say. Is it solving a problem? That's the first part, right? Then, if you've been able to identify that, yes, my product is an answer or solution to a mass problem, what you want to do is, how do I get this product fast and quickly to as many people as possible, right? So this is where you begin to think of, do I need to, what's my distribution chain like? Okay, so how do I distribute it to who needs to get it? Okay, and this is very integral, very focal, because a lot of times we have entrepreneurs that, or business executives that just focus on the product only, and they don't ask themselves, how do I distribute, right? How do I get the solution to the final end user? Okay, not just one of them, but as much of them. So you want to consider what your distribution model is going to be like. How do you distribute? What are your logistics that are in place? Okay, so that's also very important. And then also, what you want to ask yourself is, how do people then pay me? This is what a lot of people do not consider, you see. So they just we just have a shop or whatever they have, and you know, just to deal with their finances in the traditional way. No, 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 no. If you are going to be very effective, all right, you need to begin to move with the trend, which is a forms of smart payments. Okay, so you ask yourself, how can I get myself plugged into this? Do I have enough knowledge about it? You get enough get knowledge, and then you pay close attention now in your whole system and structure to how the money comes back, because you see, liquidity, cash flow is key. In short, it is king, all right, for effectively running a business. All right, this is why if you read a lot of foreign books, you see them talk a lot about venture capitalists and stuff, because it is key for you to have enough capital to run your idea. So you want to ask yourself, how does the money come back to me? All right, so the next slide that we are considering is the value chain analysis. And why I like this slide so very much is because it cuts across every business size. So if you're a very big business, or you're just starting out as a startup, or your medium scale business, wherever you are in your business, your value chain, very critical. Your value chain is one very important analysis that you've got to do for you to actually begin to put in place sustainable systems and structures. Your value chain is, in short, this is what differentiates great business from small businesses. Matter of fact, in subsequent slides, you're going to see how that you can begin to actually scale up your business. How they can begin to expand your business. So let's dive in quickly. So if you look at the image before you, you see that there are two axes, all right, where you have the first one as primary activities, and then the next or the other axis is support activities. All right, so for the primary activities, you have about five different activities where you have your inbound logistics, your operation, outbound logistics, marketing and sales, then you have services. And then for your support activities, you have firm infrastructure, human resource management, technology development, and procurement. Now, I'm going to explain all these different columns or segments in a moment. However, I want you to notice a small triangle at the tip, right? Now that triangle is what we refer to as margin. It's actually the 10th part of your value chain. However, it is that point where you don't have to do anything. That just happens when you've taken care of the other nine areas. By margin, I mean your profit. Okay, you've got to keep your eyes on your profit. And what is profit? Profit is the difference between what customers are willing to pay and have paid for your product, and the complete or overall cost in actually developing and getting that product to your customer. All right, so it's simple. It's simple. Okay, so let us begin to start with primary activities. Primary activities, you have the first one, inbound logistics. It's just simple. Do not mind the whole grammar and everything. Inbound logistics is how do you get your raw materials, your raw products. Okay, how do you get, so take for instance, you're into making let's say you make paper, for an example. I love to use the paper example. How do you get your wood, right? How do you get the chemicals that turn that wood into pulp and all that? So that's your inbound logistics. That's what you are considering. And then closely akin, or after that, is operations. How do you transform that raw material into your final good? All right, and then you then have your outbound logistics. Now you have a transformed product, a product that is ready for consumption. How do you get it to your end users, right? What's your distribution matrix like? What's your distribution chain like? And then, not just getting into your final customers, how do you get people aware? All right, so that's marketing. And then how do you get people to buy? Sales. So that's the next column, marketing and sales. How do I market my product? How do I sell my product? There's one interesting quote that I came upon one time when they were being taught about marketing. They said if you have a very nice product and you do not market it, it's like winking to a beautiful lady in a dark room. All right, she's not going to see you. She would never see you. So very, very important in your value and building for your business is your marketing and your sales. And then you have what you refer to as services. So how do you service your customers after they had made a sale? Now this is what will determine if you're going to have a repeat business. Okay, if you're going to have a repeat business. So this is just a simple summary about it. There are a lot of videos online that you can go and study and learn about how to do a value chain analysis. And I think in the subsequent slides, we're going to pay attention to some specific industries and just say one or two things regarding them. So let's look at support activities. The first that you have there is procurement. Now, procurement cuts across all the first five that I have talked about. Okay, for your inbound logistics, you've got to procure, you've got to buy those raw materials. So how do I effectively buy them? For your operations, you need machines, right? You need people to work with these machines. You need certain chemicals, certain equipment. Procurement is involved. For your outbound logistics, you need to get taxis, or you need the dispatch, or you still need procurement. Okay, for your marketing and sales, you need things to aid your marketing and sales. You got to procure them. For your services, so you're having somebody come and do a house maintenance on on the product that you sell, or whatever it is, you've got to also consider procurement. Okay, then technology development. Now, every of those five areas, those five primary areas, you've got to always think technology. Remember, I always say IT is not technology. IT is a technology. All right. So do not, when we think technology, don't immediately go and think, how do I digitalize every time? Remember, I always tell people it's good to think digital transformation. Matter of fact, it's very important. It's the inevitable step that Nigeria is going to step into. But however, remember that we are in a third world context. You see, we are in a third world context. So take for instance, you want to think of how to improve your marketing and your sales, and you're making a product for the older generation, and then what you're thinking is IT. How many of those people are well acquainted with technology? You see, so with IT technology, you've got to be very deliberate. You've got to be very smart about these things. Okay, so the next is human resource management. You need people to drive every of your primary activity. So I always tell people, you've got to train your people. You've got to train them to have a culture. A culture is key. A culture is key. A culture is key. Okay, a culture is what makes employees at Facebook think the way they do, as the culture at Google that makes them think the way they do, act the way they do, produce the kind of products they produce. And the same thing too with Apple. I love Apple, right? There's a culture in Apple. Think differently, and that's what guides everything that they do at Apple. You see, so you also, at the very beginning stage, or wherever you are right now in your business, you want to immediately begin to be concerned about your culture. It's very important. You've got to focus on the culture that you are setting up in your organization. Is it a culture of love? Is it a culture of excellence? Is it a culture of going the extra mile? Is it a culture of being devoted? These are things that you've got to consider in in dealing with your human capital. Matter of fact, your human capital is almost, in short, it is your most important resource. Never ever joke with that. Human resource is very, 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 very key. And then your firm infrastructure. Now, I like to always drop a caveat here. Now, when we talk about firm infrastructure, we're not just talking only about the physical location. What is your online space like? Okay, what are the collaborative tools that you guys have? What are the means by which you disseminate information? What's your escalation matrix? How do you resolve issues? This all make up your firm infrastructure, and you've got to give it critical thought, critical consideration. Now, giving critical thoughts to these areas of analyzing your value chain would help you develop an excellent and workable system, and an excellent and workable structure for your business. And of course, on that endpoint, that little triangle there, a margin. You want to make profit, right? You want to stay profitable. Yeah. So here is like we said, some specific industries and value chain. All right, now remember, the value chain is different from the value chain analysis. Okay, the value chain shows the successive will I say, generations, from transforming your product from its raw material to its final product. So now you have before us the manufacturing value chain, and it shows you how it starts from the very beginning. So the very first box that you have there is pulp and board manufacturing. Okay, so this is transforming that your raw produce into a larger but more usable raw material. And then you have the next thing, which is refinement. Okay, and after refining, it's your packaging and your manufacturing, and then you go into retailing, and then from retailing you package it at a smaller level, and then you have your wholesale and your value chain. Now let me explain. You're saying retailing and then package and brand owner again. Now it's this is for very large businesses. So take for instance, I make paper. So I have refined my paper from wood. All right, I've transformed the pulp, and then I have the actual big bands of paper, plenty paper. Now what happens is that somebody comes to me and says he has a very big office, he has a very big, so he wants to order maybe uh, uh 2 tons or 200 tons of my paper, and then he takes it to his own warehouse and then repackages it, you see. And then once he repackages it, he then begins to sell to his own distributors who sell to other wholesalers, or he can stand up as a distributor, all right, branded for himself, and then sell to other wholesalers who sell to retailers and gets to the end consumer. So when you're saying to him a level of retailing, that's what it means. Okay, so there is a larger scale retailing, which then becomes a distributor, and then that distributor then goes on to sell wholesale and then sell retail. Do you understand? Now this is beautiful. This is having a picture of this can help you immediately begin to 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 scale up as a business. So take for instance, you are right now at the retailing level, I mean the lowest retailing level. The next question you want to ask yourself is, how do I make other retailers my customers? That's the smart thinking. That's forward thinking. How do I make other retailers my customers? Okay, so that way I'm no longer competing with other retailers, right? I am making them into my customers. So it's a win-win. Now, what that means is that I have to become a wholesaler. So when I'm making my profits, I am making my margins. I am with that mindset that I want to become a wholesaler. And then let's say I've for some time stable on that level of being a wholesaler, all right, where I have my own wholesale network where I sell to other retailers. I begin to think immediately, can't I really have my own brand, right? Can I become an authority in the industry? So that way you keep on forward thinking on how you keep on rising up the value chain, rising up the value chain. Okay, so this is what most of our Igbo brothers they do. So they go to China, you see, and they brand speakers. All right, the brand speakers, they give the manufacturers the specifications that they want for the speaker, how they want the speaker to look like, the quality and all that, and then they put their name to it and then they import them, you see. That is rising up the value chain. And then after that you can then begin to say, why don't I begin to produce my own speakers? Okay, why don't I begin to produce my own papers? So that way you begin to forward think. All right, so that's it about the manufacturing value chain. In the event that you have a question, feel free to drop it and we definitely will deal with it. All right, so in this slide we have the service industry value chain. I would like us to look at it critically. It's self-explanatory, all right, but there are two things that are, or not two, let me say four things that I'd like to touch on regarding this particular slide. It's the first two things that you see there: innovation and delivery. These two are key. Okay, why am I saying they are key? Because you see, in today's service industry, it is highly competitive. Okay, I was talking with a graphic designer recently, and he was telling me how that right now the biggest disruption to the graphics industry is online tools that you could just put a few details and it develops a logo for you and it creates marks and all that and gives you the different formats. And so most people no longer want to patronize traditional graphics designers, and it's a big disruption for them. Now that's innovation. Okay, so I'm saying all of that to say how that today the service delivery space is very competitive. You see, it's a very competitive space, and it's harder because you cannot patent services easily, you see. So take for an instance, you say you're rendering a certain kind of service. I can decide to copy you since there is no product I'm producing. I can decide to copy you and then go on to do the same thing. But then again, now remember culture, like I said, culture is what will stand you out, and your consistent innovativeness, a consistent innovation. And then after you've innovated on the service that you want to render to the people, the next thing you want to consider is how do you deliver it to them in a most remarkable manner. Okay, how do you deliver the service the best way possible? Now, into this service industry, we have shifted from customer use to customer experience. I'm sure this is not new to you. Okay, we're all about the customer experience. So right from you generating the lead, you're selling to them, and then you're giving them services, you want to make it a remarkable experience for them. Now the truth is you cannot control what the customer is thinking. All right, however, there is one thing that I've known, and it's a secret. It's always worked. People have shared it with. It has always worked for them, and it is genuinely applying the law of increase. What is the law of increase? It is making everyone that you come in contact with know that they could be lot better than they actually are now. Not that you're trying to tell them to work on themselves and be better, and you're trying to shape them up. So someone comes to me and say, hey, this is what I do. I'm using this as an example now. I studied this in school and studied it. I'm like, okay, you studied that. What did you study? Oh, you studied poetry. Wow, that's beautiful. Have you heard of spoken word artists? Do you see what they do? And I begin to tell you about this spoken word artist and that spoken word artist, and how that I believe that you can be better and you can do the same thing, and you have all that it takes. And I begin to tell you thank you, and I begin to say how that you're amazing. You see, now I'm saying these things genuinely. Now, but before I can be able to do that regarding my business, I've got to know my customer. You see, I've got to know my customer. I've got to be customer specific all the time. Remember, it's service you're rendering. It's not a product that will speak for itself. It's a service. Service will involve people. So you've got to be very concerned about your culture. And then closely akin to that is customer acquisition and customer retention. Now, you see all the activities involved with customer acquisition, and you see all the activities involved with customer retention. But I tell people, you've got to pay very good attention to your customer retention. Why? Because through customer retention, you can have one of the best and most effective ways of advertisement, and that is word of mouth. Yeah, word of mouth. So recently someone got me oh, not too recent, I think sometimes last year or early this year, someone got me some very nice chops, okay, from someone that deals in that. She sent it to me, and it was just amazing. I got do one more, it was just so nice. Sissy Femi, by the way, she's here, so you can patronize her. I think she might say hi. Sissy Femi Gift Hub. And we had a nice time at work. We all ate of it together. Now my colleague was going to be doing his birthday not too long from that. And what happened was that he ordered a good number from her. The next time I was going to get some gifts for my pastor, I ordered it from her without anybody having to beg me or having to, talk to me or sweet talk stalk me. You see, so now that's what happens when you're focused on customer retention. She gave me an experience that I would never forget. You see, and then it made me an automatic evangelist for her. So you want to pay attention not just to how you get more customers. You want to think of how you get repeat buying, repeat sale. And anytime I want to get a gift, Sissy Femi comes to mind first. You see, so that's what you do. For me to even be able to talk about her on a platform like this, when I know that she has a potential customers and I'm not going to charge her for anything, it shows you how that it's key to pay attention to customer retention. All right, so that's it there. All right, so this was the picture that we shared earlier. Thank you guys for your different contributions regarding your thoughts on it. This is the idea that we have be concerning that particular picture. So what you have there, it's the weakest piece on the chessboard, and that's a pawn, right? And then you have other high-ranking officials like the king, queen, all right, all falling at its feet. Now that's a classic description of what we have in today's market space, where you have very small, seemingly small companies taking over or disrupting the activities of larger and bigger corporates. Okay, and then you want to begin to ask yourself, is there really fair play, or what's the idea behind fair play? Now, I always tell people there is no such thing as fair play. There is no such thing as fair play. Now, before you begin to get skeptical and think, is this guy a bad guy or stuff, hear me out. All right, now there are two planes I like to tell people. There is the competitive plane, and then there is the creative plane. Now, in the competitive plane, it's a red ocean. Everybody is doing what should be done to actually survive in this red ocean. No fair play. All right, whatever you can do to knock out your competition, you do that. It's not fair, right? If it's that you stifled your sales, let there be a propaganda about their businesses, how many of us remember the bank wars that happened? I think that happened in 2018, right? Every bank was being drawn out. There were shreddings online. Everybody was talking stuff. Now that's the strategy. There is no fair play. Everybody wants to get at everyone's jugglers. We want to stifle the competition. We want to monopolize the market. Okay, so it's not fair. It's not fair. That's on the competitive plane. That's the red ocean. Then you have what we describe as the blue ocean. The blue ocean is you carving out for yourself an entirely new market space. Now, what's the beautiful thing about this? In this market space, you are the only one there. Okay, because you're the only one there, there's no need for you to play fair because you're not competing against anyone. You're not in competition, because the very idea of fair play tells you that, okay, there are two or more people against each other. But in the blue ocean, there is no competition. All right, you have an uncontested market space. And I'd recommend the book. There is a book, Blue Ocean Strategy, I think by Kim Chuan or something. You might want to go for that read. It's a very, very interesting material there. Okay, and I think we also have one of our courses where we talk about extensive, not very extensive, but about how to develop a blue ocean strategy. So that might come as a bonus, or depending on what my leaders will say, we might have that maybe some other time. All right. So whichever ocean you are swimming in, there is no fair play. There is no fair play. One, because you've got to do what you've got to do, and the other because there is no need, because there is no you're not playing with anyone, so you don't have to be fair or you don't have to be unfair. You just got to play. All right, so I said that to say, do not think anyone owes you anything or should be nice to you in your business and stuff. No, see yourself as maybe that pawn, but tell yourself those kings and those queens are going to fall at my feet, because you have the agility, you have the nimbleness, you have the ability to quickly reiterate. You do not have an excuse. You can be an industry leader from that your very little corner. Okay. All right. So this is, I think, about the last slide, and for me it's the almost the most interesting slide, because it begins to talk about the intangibilities about regarding you as an executive or the business that you run. So the very first thing that we have there is inner rhythms. Inner rhythms. What do we mean when we talk about inner rhythms? Have you met some people? They're just very calm, very in control. Whatever they're focusing on it with accurate precision. They are not here and there trying to find out what they should be doing with their lives, or where they should be. They are just so certain, as though they have answers to all the questions. Well, what happens to such people is that they have come to touch base with their inner rhythms. What does it mean to touch base with their inner rhythms? It means to know the ultimate purpose for which you were created as an individual. That is touching base with your inner rhythms. So by the time you're able to define that, you're able to immediately define what you're not. Right now, once you're able to define what you're not, it helps streamline your focus on what you should be focusing on. This is touching base with your inner rhythms. And it is people that have actually come to touch base with your inner rhythms that do very fine in business, because they know this one thing I must pursue, this one course I must follow. They are very clear about life. So when a lot of problems and a lot of chaos happens in the market and in the market space, they are very relaxed and certain, because they know this is who they are. So they are not doing their businesses and doing all that they're doing for the same reason that other people are doing, but they're doing it based on a deep seated conviction, which is birthed as out of them understanding their purpose for living. It is purposeful living. I think there's a title like that. I think by Rick Warren, Purposeful Living, and there are a lot of titles by Dr. Miles Monroe of blessed memory on regarding purpose. Now, so touching base with your inner rhythm is coming to terms with who you really are. And I tell people, if you are an entrepreneur and you are a very erratic person, your business is going to be erratic. If you are an entrepreneur and you do not have control over your finances, your business is going to be that way. If you're an entrepreneur and you are a resentful person, your business is going to be resentful. If you're a business executive and you're someone that finds it hard to relate with people, you're going to struggle in business too. Why? Because now, whether you believe it or not, is the truth. Your business assumes your character. You might want to write that down. The character of the businessman is the character of the business. So if you are not a disciplined person as an individual, and discipline, understand, comes by you knowing who you really are and therefore doing the things that will help contribute to that person that you really are. You cannot be disciplined in your business. You're not two ways about it. So maybe all right, you may have been trying to find out and try to fix things about your business. Are you sure you don't want to fix yourself first? Right? So it's not about the business many times. It's about the person in the business. Have you not seen certain organizations where you have a department, that department is struggling and it's not just working out well, and they just bring somebody. The person might not necessarily change anything. He might not necessarily bring in new people. He might work with the same people. But you just see there is a change. Why? Because he has spread to the business. His character has become the character of the business. So that's what you want to check. So I want everyone listening to me right now to do an evaluation on themselves. Who are you really? Why are you trying to make that money? Why are you trying to do what it is that you're trying to do? Are you trying to get back at those people that said you couldn't make it? Or are you trying to live for a higher cause? So you've got to touch base with your inner rhythms. Until you work, nothing works. Never forget that. All right, so the next thing that we want to talk about is strategy. Strategy. The truth is, you cannot overemphasize the importance of strategy. Strategy for yourself as a person and strategy for your business. You've got to have a workable system of events. All right, now, whether you're swimming in a red ocean or you're swimming in a blue ocean, is either ways you still got to have a strategy. All right, and what's a strategy? A strategy is simply a systemic way of doing things to achieving a desired result, right? Such that it could be replicated across similar systems and still achieve the same result. So that strategy, it is not chance. And if you're going to be dealing a lot with strategy, there is one principle that you've got to have in mind, and that's the principle of causality. What does the principle of causality say? It states that an effect cannot happen before its cause. So it means every effect that you see, it is sponsored by a certain cause. It's just like a fruit and a root of a tree. All right, they all seem to be part of the tree, but the fruit is a function of that root being connected to the earth. If the root is disconnected from the earth, it's only a matter of time before the fruits begin to die. You see, it reminds me of a certain parable in scripture. Jesus was talking to his disciples at the time, and he said that a certain man had a vineyard, and he planted, I think, a vine in it,
And for the first 3 years, it didn't produce fruits. Okay, so the master comes and says, "Hey, let's cut it down." Now, the person in charge of that vineyard says something very interesting, and I love it. It says, "Why don't you allow it 1 more year?" And he says, "I'm going to dig around it and apply manure." Now, when you dig around, what do you find? You find the roots, and I'm going to apply manure to it. All right, and then let's see if after this 1 year, if it produces, fine. If it doesn't, fine. You see, and Jesus doesn't go on to tell us whether it produces or not. Why? Because he was trying to establish the principle of causality and strategic thinking. You see, so he was saying you have problems or you have a situation you're trying to surmount. Don't go on thinking about the effect. Ask yourself why. No, there's what we do in where I work. It's called a root cause analysis. Asking yourself the 5 whys. So they said this thing happened. You ask why, you get an answer. You ask another why, you get an answer. You ask another why, you get an answer. So by the time you've asked yourself why 5 times, you must have been able to at least touch upon either the root cause or something close to the root cause. Now, this is how you've got to be thinking. All right, you've got to be thinking in terms of causality, knowing that nothing practically just happens because it wants to happen. No, there is something that is sponsoring what is happening. All right, now this is strategic thinking. Now, I am saying this in summary. Is this is an abridged version of it. However, if you take out time to sit down and think and reflect on these words, you would see that therein lies in the ability to draw up and develop effective strategy. And the last but not the least on this particular slide is the mental vicinity. Have you ever heard that quote from the good book as a man thinks in his heart, so he is, right? Now, it's not just okay for you to touch base with your inner rhythms. In short, the proof that you have touched base with your inner rhythms is that you have been able to properly structure your mental vicinity to allow for those things that you've desired to see in your life. Now, what's your mental vicinity? Your mental vicinity is your mental space. What are the thoughts that you allow? What are the thinkings that you allow? What are the ideologies that you allow? Now, let me give you a simple example of how powerful this mental vicinity is. I'm sure that you must have experienced it, whereby you were just thinking of someone, right? Maybe you're just thinking of a loved one that, oh, it's been a long time you heard from them. And in the next few moments, your phone rings, they're the one that's calling. And you're like, wow, I was just thinking about you. I was just talking about you. Now, what happened was that your thoughts, listen, your thoughts have what you refer to as vibrational energy. All right. And that energy has got a frequency. Okay. Now, that frequency will travel and relate with other thoughts on its frequency. So, let's say you're a business person and all the time you're encumbered and filled with worry. All right. Now, worry will vibrate or resonate with other elements on that its frequency. What are the elements on this frequency? Disappointment, failure, uh, 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 not meeting deadlines. Now, that's because you are giving to worry. Do you understand me? So what you want to do is you want to have a healthy mental vicinity. Now, because your mental vicinity creates your vortex. What's your vortex? Your self-creating power. You see, I have a vortex. You have a vortex. Is what people, is what people say. Ah, bad energy, stay far away from me. I'm sure you must have seen those kind of posts and quotes online. Now that's your vortex. Some people have a negative vortex that just keeps sucking up everything, and no results is produced. But there are some other people, because they are controlled and they are deliberately controlling the quality of their thoughts, the things that they are allowing to stay in their minds. All right, they have been able to create such a powerful vortex around them that attracts good things and good things alone. I tell myself good things always work for me. In short, I expect good things. I expect people to like me. I expect people to think of me as wise. I expect people to listen to me. I expect to speak and people keep quiet and listen. I expect it. Not because I am arrogant, not because I am proud, but because it's the vortex I have decided to create for myself. It doesn't cost you money to just sit down and fill your mind with good things. Now, how do you create a, a positive vortex, the right mental vicinity? There are two things I want to share with you quickly. First of all, thinking sessions. Secondly, talking sessions. Now, thinking sessions are paradigm shifting moments whereby you critically consider how you think. It is what we call, refer to as metacognition. All right, thinking about how you think, learning about how you learn, planning about how you plan. All right, it is doing an activity for an activity. So what are we referring to when we say thinking sessions? It is you setting out a quiet time and considering how you think. What are the qualities of your thoughts? Are you always thinking fear? Are you always thinking defeat? Are you always thinking that your competition is going to outsmart you? Are you always thinking that it might not just work out? Are you always thinking that I don't think I'm competent enough? What are the quality of the thoughts that go through your mind? Now, once you're able to identify the quality of your thoughts, the next thing that you want to do is you want to amplify, all right, raise it to a higher energy level. Now, you remember the number line that we had in school, right? So you have on one side you have the negatives, then you have zero, and then you have the positives. Now that's the same thing with everybody's thoughts, you see. So if today you have a negative thought, what you need to do is to keep on adding more positives. What happens is that it will gradually keep on pushing it to the positive side of that number line. So that's what you want to do. You want to begin immediately in those your thinking sessions to preoccupy your mind again with the right thoughts, and that will lead us to the next in talking sessions. All right, I am a Christian, okay, and this influences everything that I do. I set out a time every day to talk God's talk. So I have a session. Now remember, I'm trying to deal with some negative thoughts that I have. Maybe it's a thought that I am afraid that I might be defeated. Now I go to the scriptures. What does God say? God says, I will be the head and not the tail. Now I go and I keep on thinking on that thought. I keep on thinking on it, thinking on it. I write it down in my diary. I put it in a place that I could always see it. If you have a vision board, put it there, and then you begin to keep on saying to keep saying it. I keep on telling myself, oh, I am smart. Oh, I am the head, I am not the tail. I cannot be defeated. Oh, everything is working out for me. Everything is falling into space. Remember, I also told you that this is also a system of control. All right, you know, when we're talking about control, we said conditioning, calm, conversation. Now, this is you having a conversation with yourself and with the things around you. All right, so you keep on saying this word, you keep on saying this word because we live in a voice activated planet. All right, everything in this world is controlled by sound. People are afraid today because of the sound, the kind of words that they are hearing. People are strong today because of the kinds of words they're hearing. Just imagine, think with me. I understand right now is the coronavirus and everything. Just think for a moment if on CNN they announce that a vaccine has been developed, everybody is saved, we have seen a continuous reduction in it, everybody becomes happy, right? Even if it's not true, even if it's a fake news, everybody becomes happy, right? So then I ask myself, why don't I then choose to be happy? Well, they say you're living in an illusion. Well, it's not an illusion. Why? Because perception is a lot more important than reality. You want to write that down. Perception is more important than reality. Why? Because your perception becomes your reality. Your perception becomes your reality. Have you ever met people that they told a lie so much that they couldn't differentiate between what is real and what is fake? Right? Because perception becomes your reality. So that's what you want to do. You want to have talking sessions whereby you say the right things because your words control your thoughts. Your thoughts control your attitude. All right, and your attitude eventually will affect your choices, and your choices accumulated together will affect where you will end up eventually in life, your destiny. So this is why you've got to be very, 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 very careful about your mental space as a business executive. You do not want anything and anything at all to tamper with the quality of your thoughts. You do not want anything to tamper with your mind. All right. So that's it about the mental vicinity, and I think with that we would be wrapping up the segment. Thank you guys for being with us all the way. I'm sure that the moderator will take it over from here. And if you have questions, so feel free to drop them. And then do not just let this be words that you've just heard, let them be things that you would practically begin to work on today. Thank you again.